Oh, I have a big surprise for someone. Ira, where you at? You want to come up here, Ira? Give Ira a big hand. How you doing?
Wonderful.
You're going to be my first hot seat.
Love it.
You like that? All
I
right.
love it.
Pull up a chair.
At my age, it's wonderful to be in a hot seat.
So let's put up his website. Up at the top in the banner above, it says No Harm Advocate. And then underneath it says the alternative to sue or forget it. The headline says, the practice of medicine is the least regulated economic activity in America. Medical malpractice is driving up the cost of our health care. Would you like to learn how to lower the cost of your health care? And then there's a little opt-in box to the right. Just enter your first name and primary email address below, and the revolutionary program to change healthcare is yours absolutely free. There's an audio that comes on and actually plays, auto-plays when you get to the website. With Ira talking, we won't play that for you. And then in the middle, there's a box that says, if you want to, and then there are some check boxes, reduce the cost of your healthcare, make doctors more responsible, separate the good doctors from the bad doctors, change healthcare. We can change that together. My program will show you how. And then there's some other things here. So I want to ask you a couple.
I can do that.
You can do all that?
I can.
All right, that's good to know. So can you do me a favor and kind of describe your ideal prospect to me?
My ideal prospect is basically everyone in America, because doctors, hospital administrators, legislators, and average people are exceedingly frustrated with the healthcare system. And that is because no one has really attempted to understand how our healthcare system is configured at this time and how it evolved into that flawed configuration.
I can tell you have some energy around your topic. Tell me about the prospect, and I'm going to challenge you to specificity.
All right.
One of the things that we're going to talk about later in the program is narrowing your niche instead of widening it. One of my favorite sayings, man who chases 2 rabbits catches none. From Confucius.
I've done that.
Confucius, you've chased 2 rabbits?
As a youth, growing up in Tennessee.
I can tell. Well, you're doing it as an adult in Los Angeles right now, too. You're repeating your patterns. Let's pick one person. Who's the person that would have the biggest frustration, the biggest problem, the biggest need right now?
The person who has dealt with our current healthcare system and is mystified as to why someone living in this country would be left with how confusing and frustrating it is.
Okay, so we have a lot of work to do on the narrowing that niche down, still being a problem child, but we'll skip over that. Let's just say, so that's good though. It's someone that's dealt with the healthcare industry. They've been through the run-of-the-mill and they've been frustrated by it. They've had a bad experience. Okay,
yes.
Can we give them a name?
Emil.
Emil.
We're sticking with these.
You're a creative cuss, aren't you? Yeah. Okay. Now, how do they feel right now? How's this person feeling inside?
They're feeling angry. They're feeling frustrated. They're feeling confused. And
what's one of their fears?
That no one seems to be reaching out and trying to address the problems that they see wherever they look.
Okay, good. Now, what's one of the irrational thoughts or fantasies that's going through their head?
That nothing's ever going to get better.
Okay. Give me something more specific, more tangible in their life.
That everything they hear is not being spoken in a positive and constructive manner. That all they hear is more idealistic rhetoric and nothing specific.
I need you to be more specific, like tell me about someone who has a specific problem, like a condition, and then a specific thing that's happening to that person. Give me one.
Simple.
Give me a common one.
The person that's gone in and had something as common as a total hip procedure, and 2 or 3 weeks later, when they've seen other people who have had these and get along rapidly and well, and they're having problems, and no one's giving them real answers regarding their problems.
Okay, so you're talking about someone who has a hip replacement.
And
Two
they've
to three
got
weeks,
problems.
2 to 3 weeks later, they're having problems.
Yes.
And then they find people who didn't have those problems,
Sure.
and they're now saying, why am I having problems, and they didn't.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. So now we're getting specific. And this is important because if you say to me, if you've had a hip replacement, had it not work out, and we'll fine-tune and wordsmith the words later, and then found out that there are other people that had hip replacements and they worked out, and you're really frustrated and now you're mad as hell,
Sure.
I need to talk to you.
Exactly.
That's going to connect with me. I'm going to say, he's talking to me. It's specific enough. If you say to me, have you ever had a problem with the healthcare industry and now you're mad as hell, no one's going to listen because it's too general. It's too big. It's not specific enough. Does that make sense?
That's where I've been the last 3 years.
Okay. I couldn't tell.
I've lived with it. I can tell. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm here.
So let me ask you this question. Let's say I had a hip replacement. It was a few weeks ago.
Sure.
Now I'm having problems, and I'm out on the internet. I'm looking around. I'm like, hip replacement. I had some challenges, whatever. You know what? Let's skip the internet. We'll go back there in a second. What's something you could tell someone that's had a hip replacement surgery 2 to 3 weeks ago that's now having problems that will help them quickly, instantly fix their problem? What could you tell them?
There's nothing, from my perspective, that is available that would instantly, quickly fix their problem unless those who can start addressing how to deal with such problems in a different way.
Okay, time out. There is something that someone who had a hip replacement 2 to 3 weeks ago can do to start fixing the problem immediately. There is something.
Oh, sure.
Give me something.
Get a second opinion or see someone that will attempt to deal with that problem.
Okay, time out for a sec. Let's say that there are probably doctors who are specialists in dealing with people who had hip replacement surgeries 2 to 3 weeks ago and they're now experiencing problems.
Yeah.
They're probably doctors that specialize in that.
Other orthopedic surgeons.
Okay, and it's probably maybe, let's just say, a different kind, or how about a more experienced one, or a more ethical one, or one that lives in a certain state, or one that operates under a certain code of conduct that most of them don't, or one that agrees to something, or one that had a certain type of training. There's something.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't care what the technique is. Let's just call it Technique X, just to, depersonalize it. But it is there.
Yes.
Now, if I came to your website and this said at the top, none of this banner with these graphics or anything, in big bold quotes, in big bold letters with quotes, it said, if you have had a hip replacement surgery within the last 2 to 3 weeks and now you're experiencing problems, this is the most important message you will ever read. And then underneath it said, there is one technique that you can implement right now that will get you on track to fixing your hip replacement problems. If you would like me to email this technique to you right now, enter your name and email address in the box. You will get a high opt-in rate. I can almost guarantee it.
I'd be arrested. I was never an orthopedic surgeon. I didn't do hip replacements, so I shouldn't give that advice. I was just using that as an example.
No, you're not going to give them the advice. You're going to tell them to find the type of expert. Does that make sense? I don't get away from the content. Forget the content.
Okay.
You with me?
I'm with
you. What I'm talking to your prospect about their specific situation and promising them an instant result in return for getting their name and email address. That's the formula.
Okay.
You can fill in hip replacement surgery with hives or acne or a common cold or anything.
Okay.
I get it. You're promising them, you know something. You have a piece of information that you can give them that instantly can get them closer to the result they want. And if they will give you their name and email address, you will send it to them or show it to them right now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you talk to everybody and you say, have you ever had, who's learning something right now? Raise your hand. Good. Have you ever had, oh, good.
Sorry about that.
Have you ever had a bad experience with the medical care industry? Of course, everybody has. But it's so common, it's so ubiquitous that there's no impact. It's old hat. If I had a hip replacement surgery and it's painful, I don't know, I mean, maybe I know a few people that had hip replacement surgeries, but I don't know a lot. And I only know maybe one or two that really had problems. And I'm desperate to find solutions. Mm-hmm. I am at the right level of specificity right now. Does this make sense?
Yes.
I would recommend, if you want to start, and I'm only going to talk about building a list. We don't have time to get too deep into how to go even deeper with this, and build a relationship. But if you want to start building a list, you need to make an avatar for the one largest, highest pain niche within this world, and then make a customer avatar for them. So let's say, I don't know what it is, but I'll bet cancer is a pretty big one. Cancer is a lot of pain and urgency. There are a lot of people that get cancer. Heart disease, problems with children. Parents are very motivated to solve health problems with children.
Obstetrical problems, feminine problems.
So I'll bet you that if you created 10 websites that had the same formula.
Lord.
No.
Yeah.
I could do this. I could go get on my computer right now, and in an hour, I could have it done. It's so simple to create. You write a sentence, that's the headline, and then you write the sentences that are the bullets, and then you write the technique out.
Oh, wow.
Okay? And if you really are super lazy, you sign up for Copy Talk for $49, $59 a month, whatever it is, and you just call them on the phone, and you say the words, and then they email you the text, all you can eat. By the way, I don't get anything for this, but if you go to copytalk.com/altitude, write that down, copytalk.com/altitude. And like I said, I just called them up and said, I talk to audiences and I want them to have your service. And they don't give a lot of discounts, but they did give a $10 discount, and I think you get a free month if you sign up for 3 or something like that. But you get a discount. You get $10 a month off. I think it's $49.95. Copytalk.com/altitude. You can call this number up on the phone, and you can speak for up to 4 minutes, which will give you, page of text, 4 minutes at a time. And you can keep calling back. You can keep doing the 4-minute things for as much as you want. And then within 24 hours, they send you an email with the text in it. This is how hard it is. You could just sit down and make a little outline and dictate it, the way a lot of people write books. I've gotten off on a tangent. I've distracted the hell out of myself. Now, where was I? So if you created 10 websites.
10 websites.
10 landing pages.
10 landing pages.
And all they had was a headline that said, if you've experienced this problem and you'd like to get a solution that'll help get you on the right track instantly, right now, enter your name and email, and I'll either show it to you or email it to you. And they were for the 10 largest audiences in healthcare. You'd probably pick up about 60 or 80% of the market because, the bell curve, or not the bell curve, but the long tail and the head and the distribution curve. And when one of those people saw your website, they'd say, this is for me. I need to get this right now. And that little piece, that little technique, that little piece of information you're trading will probably increase the rate of your opt-in by a minimum of 100%, and based on what I see here, probably 1,000%. It will probably 10x the opt-in rate that you'll experience because you've created an avatar for that particular customer. You're talking in their language, and you're promising them something that they can do right now, a piece of information, in exchange for something that you want, which is their name and email address, so you can follow up with them later. And then, now, we don't have time to dig into it at this point, but then what you'd want to do is create a series of follow-up emails for each of those audiences that you can put into an autoresponder system and have delivered cheaply and just automatically, that would educate them and would build a relationship with them and say, oh, and by the way, you'd email them a week later and say, Dear Susie, I'm just writing, it's Ira, I'm just writing to see how the hip is doing. I've got another tip for you. Do this. Does that make sense?
Sure. Great sense.
Excellent. And if you do that, what will happen is the prospects, I think anyway, will probably feel a lot more understood by you because they will think they will have that feeling of, wow, this is someone that gets me, they understand. Just saying in a headline, if you've had a hip replacement within the last 2 to 3 weeks, and now you're experiencing problems, is the most important message you'll ever just saying, that's it. It's all you need to do when someone's in pain and urgency. They're going to go, oh my God, there are other people that have had this happen, and this person knows what to do. You'll probably have one of the highest landing page opt-in rates of anyone in internet marketing history.
Sounds wonderful.
It does sound good, and I sure hope it works.
I do too.
All right, Ira, thank you for playing along.
Thank you very much.
There you go. Who learned something in that last session? Raise your hand. Okay, good. I love that. You just keep giving me rounds of applause back there. Do you guys remember that in Coming to America, where you're sitting there and he's like, Randy Watson, section with chocolate. That boy good. That's what I mean when I say Randy Watson, by the way. So now we have a little insight. Okay, good. Who would like to share what their aha was and then how they can go apply it immediately to make more money?
First name is Heather DeWeese, and right now living in Austin, Texas.
How are you, Heather?
Hey, how are you?
Thanks for being here.
Good to see you again. One thing I learned from this particular overall session is the avatar, and it's okay to eliminate. Mm-hmm. So when I began to look at my target market, I really wanted to, it got narrow, and I go, but I should, other people could. But it's okay to eliminate and allow yourself to really go deep versus saving the world type of thing. So when you name the person, I named mine, and when I named the person and got in their shoes, I began to actually feel what they wanted and that specific kind of person, down to the age, down to the generations, a different generation than me, down to their thoughts and desires, which is completely distinct from me because it's a male and because they're 25 years older. So when I got to that and allowed myself to eliminate other people, it felt good and a little nerve-wracking.
Good.
That was it.
So did you hear that? She learned it's okay to narrow. It's okay to narrow. Do you like it when people say to you, oh yeah, I've worked with people like you. I've got a standard process that I put them through. You think your kids would respond well if you came home and said, you know, children are supposed to clean up their rooms. But that's what you're doing when you're casting a wide net to everybody out there in the world. Just sending your message out there. One more thing.
Yes, when you described the avatar person, but then when you describe the avatar business, I know we haven't kind of gone down that per se, but that just clicked with me. For some reason, I got so focused on the target market, and then, okay, now the person, I forgot to begin to say, what is the avatar, in your case, say avatar business? What's the ideal business that avatar persons I can connect with and go after? And it's not really what usually we possibly think. When I started to think about like an older male in that genre, it's not what I'm reading. So I have to go after that and start to rethink my business strategy on who I'm going to be speaking to in different business ventures and strategic alliances. So that was nice.
Good one. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, my name's Jamie Minton, and I had an interesting aha. As a marketing consultant, I can do exactly what you did for a client, but then I find that I'm making the same general, being too vague mistakes with my own business. And my big takeaway was that when a lot of us get into business, it's, as was clear with Ira, you probably had a personal experience with the medical industry that caused you to want to pursue this. And I think a lot of us have that. And the business I'm in is because of a severe pain that I experienced and wanted to help others fix. And I think a lot of us, when we feel that pain, we don't want to connect with it as much as we need to connect with the pain and who we're communicating with. So I realized that I just kind of have to get in touch with that. So thank you.
So when we got started with Double Your Dating, it was just me sitting at a computer in my bedroom with an ebook, and I taught myself HTML, I taught myself how to build web pages, put the book online, and it took off. It started to become successful. And then my good friend Dean Jackson came over, and I'm going to make an announcement here. He's going to be here later in the program. You're going to meet him. He's one of the smartest marketers I believe that's ever lived. I have a confession to make. It's not really a confession so much as to set the record straight. A lot of people call me the father of the landing page. So you've seen landing pages like the one we just saw that Ira had with the headline and the bullets and the opt-in box. A lot of people say that I'm the father of the landing page because I was the first one that had one. Well, the reality is Dean Jackson is actually the first one that had one. And we were working on this business because he's the one that kind of convinced me to start this in the first place. And we were brainstorming some different ideas, and we decided to put up a page that instead of just letting people come into our website, we would say, hey, we've got good stuff inside here. If you'll give us your name and your email address, you can come inside and see what we've got. And instead of having traffic just come to the website, and if they bought, they bought, and if they didn't, they didn't, now we were capturing leads. Now we were getting people who weren't maybe quite ready to buy or who wanted to build a relationship and get to know us better. And then what I started doing is creating an email newsletter and following up with those leads that came in. And that one tweak was a dramatic shift in our business. It was truly dramatic. I would say right now that, if we had to go back and chart the growth of our business over time and say, where would it be right now? Our business would probably be, 1/10 or 1/5 or something the size that it is, had we not changed the order in which we captured information. Now, what's interesting and counterintuitive about landing pages, and what happens a lot when people come to work with our business, especially smart business people, is they say, you mean you turn away 80% of the people that come to your website? 80% of the people, they just don't ever even come in? We've got to do something about that. We've got to do something to capture that traffic. And it usually ruminates in their brain for a long time until they see the whole model and they see how it works and they say, oh, by losing the 80%, we actually get 5 times as much out of the 20%. That makes a lot of sense. Which introduces another concept that we're going to be talking about later in this section called moving the free line. And moving the free line is a little idea that I came up with, and it's about giving away a massive quantity of value. In fact, giving away so much value that the prospect says to themselves, well, geez, if this is the stuff they're giving away, how valuable must be the stuff that they're selling? The internet is amazing for moving the free line because you can give away a lot of stuff very inexpensively. You can distribute audio, video, printed materials, software. You can do all kinds of stuff for a very, very low cost. And this is kind of caught on in internet marketing circles. And now a lot of people are using this term, moving the free line. And we'll get to it in just a little bit here. But when I combined the landing page with our free newsletter, which when I started to do it, I tried a few things, goofed around with it a little bit. My ideas didn't work out the way I thought they were going to. I had to actually start doing a little bit of work and writing content, and the more content I wrote, the better it did. The more personality and humor and energy and kind of fire I put into the copy and the newsletter, the better it performed. And at one point I decided, I'm going to create the best newsletter that's ever been written on any topic, the most valuable newsletter ever, and then I'm going to give it away. I want this thing to be as valuable as a newsletter that someone charges $1,000 a year for, and then I'm going to give it away. And I created what I think our business is pretty proud of, is a very, very valuable, entertaining, educational. It's basically an education course that you can get for free just by coming to our website. Thousands of pages of great free information. And it seems to be working. It converts very well, and it's helped us build a big business. So that combination of the landing page, capturing leads up front, and then moving the free line and offering massive value was a huge, one of the biggest shifts and one of the most profitable long-term shifts we ever made. Another thing that happened back right around the time that I was starting, a few months in maybe, right around the time we were experimenting with the landing page. This was probably right before the landing page, but this was a tremendous breakthrough in thinking especially, a breakthrough in my paradigm, was I tested prices. And in the past, I really hadn't, I'd studied marketing for a lot of years, really hadn't had the opportunity to test different prices against each other in many situations. It's not as easy to do that offline when you have to do printed runs and split testing magazine ads and split testing direct mail. But on the internet, it's a little easier. And so one day I said, I'm going to raise the price of my ebook, my downloadable book, from, it was $29.95, and I decided to raise it to $39.95 and just test a different price. And I remember the day specifically because I drove down to San Diego from Los Angeles to spend the day with my two best friends, Dean Jackson, who I mentioned, who will be here later, smart marketing guy, and my friend Richard, who's here actually kind of overseeing the program in the room. And I went down to see them, and we hung out for the day. And later in that day, I said, I can't remember whose computer it was. I think it was Dean's. I said, hey, can I borrow your computer? I need to get online and check my stats and kind of see what's going on. I haven't seen what the results were of this test. And I remember logging into my account and seeing, I thought something was wrong. I thought something must be broken. There were 10 sales for $39.95. It was my highest number of sales in one day, and the highest volume. So I sold more product at a higher price in one day. Now, this wasn't a scientific split run test where I was A-Bing, and I'm sure there was a little bit of variation there, but all of a sudden I realized, essentially, they're still buying at the same rate or better, even though I raised my price by 33%. And like I said, it changed my paradigm. Now when we launch products, in 80% of the cases or something like that, we do a split run of several prices, different terms, different offers, and we see which one performs better. And wouldn't you know that once in a while, the highest price outperforms the other prices? It's very interesting. Who here tests prices and terms on a religious basis? Raise your hand. Okay, so what do you think, maybe 20% of the audience, that kind of thing? So one of the things that I discovered is that changing that little price thing and having it just show up over and over can make a huge difference. If you increase your price 10% and it works and it performs as well as or better, how much more profitable does your process or your model become? A lot. In most cases, that would double the profitability of an offer, getting 10% more. So test prices and test terms. And then the next thing, and I'm going to share something with you that I've never really shared in public before. This was a great little discovery. A little bit later on, we released our first back-end product, our first higher-end program. It was a $200 CD program, which about 6 months later we released on DVD. It was called our Advanced Dating Techniques program. And after releasing it, I said, okay, we don't have any fancy technology. We can't do all the things that we would love to eventually be able to do. How can we upsell our customers to this thing? So I had Sheila on our team, who was the very first person that came to work with me, who I hired as kind of a part-time virtual assistant. I said to her, hey, Sheila, let's try something. Let's take all the customers that purchased our ebook a couple of weeks ago, and let's send them a personal email, a real personal email that I'll write it, and you'll just send them from my email account. And it will say, hey, I noticed you bought my ebook. I hope you're enjoying it. And I don't remember exactly what it said, but maybe I hope you read chapter 4 where I shared this great technique. And by the way, if you enjoyed my book, you're really going to like my advanced course because it goes into depth in these 3 areas. And you know what I'd like to do is, let me send you one to try out. I won't even charge you. Just try it. Try it for a month. And if you like it, keep it. And if you don't, just send it back. I'll pay the shipping. Don't worry about it. Those emails, and again, I don't have the exact figures right here. I didn't go dig them up. I didn't go dig into the stats. But as I recall, those emails were worth something like $10 a piece in sales. Those cut and paste emails that took 30 seconds apiece or 60 seconds to do. Just following up a couple of weeks later with a personal email saying, I hope you enjoyed it. Here's something else. Just try it. If you like it, great. If not, just send it back. Another huge aha. Now later we became more sophisticated, and we'll tell you about that a little bit later in the program, and we built custom technology to do a lot of these things automatically during the purchase process and afterwards. And I recommend that if you are not upselling and cross-selling people and then selling on the back end and going back to your customers and saying, would you like some more stuff? Would you like some more stuff? And if you like that, I've got some more stuff for you. Then you're probably throwing away at least as much profit as you're making. Very big lessons in our business. So in this program, we're going to use the word customer a lot. Customer, client, prospect. I'm going to use the word customer a lot. And what I'd like to do is suggest to you a different term for customer. I'd like to suggest the term business friend. You might want to write that down. Think of them as business friends. And what's the difference between thinking of someone as a business friend and thinking of someone as a customer? If you think of someone as a customer, typically, I think your mindset that you go into is, I am the big, powerful business, and they are the little customer. I will create this massive voicemail tree that I will pay $4.95 a month for. And when they call, it will say, if you want to reach sales, press 1. If you'd like to reach customer service, press 2. If you'd like to have blah, 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 press 3. Right? That's the mindset. That's a customer calling, and I need to treat them like a business and quote policy and procedure to them. But I don't think that customers want to be treated that way. Do you want to be treated that way when you are the customer of a business? It just seems like a huge disconnect. So if you trade out that term customer for business friend, what it does is it switches around the neural connections. And you start saying, well, you know what? How would I treat this person if I was their friend? What if I was their trusted advisor? What if I was someone that they trusted to give them good advice, and what they were going to do is trade me some value in return? John Carlton, wonderful friend of mine, amazing copywriter, he says the hardest thing to do in the world and the hardest skill to acquire is to get the human animal to take out its wallet, take out the credit card, and give it to you. The hardest skill to get an individual person, learn how to get the person to take their money out and give it to you. Very few people have that skill. Think about how hard it is to build a relationship with someone to the point where you can borrow $100 from them. What does it take to build a relationship from scratch? I mean, are you gonna, even if you hang out with someone the whole program, let's say that, this program's 5 full days long. Let's say you meet them, hang out with them, have 7 meals with them, really bond, and at the end of that time, you realize you got your wallet ripped off and you need to get a cab to the airport and you're gonna need a little bit of money, you need $100. Would you feel comfortable saying, can I borrow $100 from you? Just throwing it out there. Hey, can I borrow $100 without going, oh, I lost my wallet and I don't know. I don't know that I would. I'd probably squirm and try to find some other way to do it than to just say, hey, can I borrow $100? It takes a while to build a relationship where you have enough trust and connect to just borrow $100. What about getting someone to give you $100 in return for some unknown value or unknown result? What does that take? These are humans. These are real individual people that we're talking about. They're us. We're skeptical. We don't want to just send our money in and have someone maybe abscond with it and maybe not. Well, as a business friend, what you do is you take the approach of, I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to build a relationship with you. I don't just want to take your money. I want to help you. I understand your situation. Clearly, listen to the way that I'm talking. I will build a relationship with you, and then what I'd like to do is propose that we have a mature friendship. And in a mature friendship, there's going to be reciprocity. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you with a massive amount of value. In fact, I'm going to provide you with way more value than you would expect. And after you get all that value, then you be the judge. You decide whether or not it makes sense to pay for it. Doesn't that just feel more right? Isn't that the way a friend would treat you and interact with you? Now, that's very idealistic, and I'm stylizing and generalizing and wrapping this up into a little kernel of an idea. But how much more would you like to be treated that way yourself as a customer? Well, can you weave some of that into your communication and the way that you're dealing with your customers, being a business friend rather than treating them like a customer? Earlier I mentioned that we have this channel we go on to almost. It's like business communication mode, where you're talking to your friends and you're saying, hey, how's it going? Hey, what'd you do the other day? Oh, great, man, did I tell you about this? And then a customer calls and we're like, hello? Yes, Evan Pagan speaking, Altitude program. What can I do to help you? Let me check my manual and get back to you. Is that what people want? No. They truly want, when you call, for you to say, hi, how are you? I'm glad you called. What can I do? Where are you at? What's your problem? What's the situation you're going through? What do you need? What can I do to help? How can I assist you getting what you want? It's a different mode of communication. It's a different way of communicating. And you can do it in a professional way. Okay, when your customers call, you don't have to go, hey, yeah, dude, what up? It's Altitude. Okay, you can find that happy medium. Although Frank would like it if I answered the phone that way. A lot. So let's talk about the way that you build a relationship with another person. I've thought a lot about this, as you might imagine, coming from the dating advice world, and also from marketing. And I see that there are a lot of parallels. And ultimately, the more you do things, the more you do different things, the more you study different processes, especially processes that involve humans, the more you see that there are a lot of commonalities. And what I've seen, and I realize I'm not the first one that's ever seen this, but we all go through a few simple, general steps when we're connecting with and making friends with another person. The first step we go through is attention, where we have the attention of the other person, or we get their attention. There's some attention-getting thing. You're going about your life, and then all of a sudden this other person's there, and they've got your attention. You stop what you're doing, and you pay attention to them. The next step is connection. There's some connect somewhere, right? Oh, you're a Padres fan? I'm a Padres fan. You love Jethro Tull? I love Jethro Tull. You're in marketing? I'm in marketing. You live in California? I live in California. There's always some connect that happens. Starts this rapport building process, but there's always a connection. There's got to be a connector. And then finally, there's a commitment. We get past the connection and we say, you know what? This is something that I'm going to be committed to. This is a friend. This is somebody that I want to have a relationship with. And when you have that attention, connection, commitment process happen, this is not something that happens intellectually, right? We don't say, oh, okay, I'm going to pay attention to this person. Oh, I see the connection, so that's logical, so we should continue to develop the dialogue. And, oh, you know what? I'm going to make the logical decision to make a commitment to this person. All emotional, all unconscious, not things that we are conscious of having happen. And in business, when we have this, and this is the process that we go through when we're marketing, right? We run ads to try to get someone's attention. We write some copy, or we send out promos, or we do whatever to, engage them and connect with them on an emotional level and get them amped up. And then we want a commitment on the relationship. We want them to buy something. How do you know someone's committed to you? They act on it. They behave in a way that shows that they're committed. So that's what we're asking of our customers. Have you ever considered maybe trying to do that for them? Because guess what? Your customer wants the exact same thing from you. It's what you want from other businesses. You want them to pay attention to you. You want the business to connect with you. And you want the business to commit to you and demonstrate that commitment. And in most business processes that I look at, most marketing processes, conversion processes that are broken, this is absent. There is no, I'm demonstrating to my customer that I want to pay attention to them and that I have paid attention to them. There is no demonstrating to them, I want to connect to you. Me as a person, am interested in you and I want to connect to you. And there is no, and I'm so committed to this thing that you're trying to get done that I will make the commitment to help you get there. And I'm going to act on it. Let me show you. Let me prove it to you. That spirit just is not inside of it. It's, here's what I'm selling. You should be fortunate enough to buy it from me. That's it. I put my wares out on a table, and if you're too stupid to buy them, then that's your problem. I get a lot of experts, content experts, topic experts, that if they see me talk or they see one of my products, they come to me and they go, oh, I've been looking for you all of my life. I've spent 20 years developing the ultimate poodle clipping system and method, where you can take any pair of shears and shear your poodle in 7 minutes, and it comes out perfect every time, and I just haven't found someone to help me market it. All right? It's very spooky when I hear that. And then I say, well, how about this? There are a couple of interesting sales and marketing books that I recommend that you read. Why don't you read these and then get back to me, and maybe I can work with you and help you a little bit. And they go, oh, no, you don't understand. I don't want to do any of that sales and marketing stuff. I'm not good at any of that stuff. I just want to be the best poodle clipping 7-minute technique developer the world's ever known. I'm going to let that sales and marketing stuff, that's for somebody else. We all think that our ideas and our products are the best in the world, the best the world's ever seen. We think everyone should just see them and go, oh, it's self-evident. I would suggest that you try, just recommend maybe testing out, broadcasting to your customers, you know what, I'm going to pay attention to you. I'm going to connect to you. I want to connect with you. And I want to make a commitment to help you get the result you're looking for, deliver you from pain, deliver you into the pleasure that you want, give you the result. Just try that. Something that inspired me, by the way, is I've seen this process, but there was something that helped catalyze it, I guess, or kind of just sum it up and crystallize it. I have 3 books in my collection. Each one are profound. The first one is called The Attention Economy. The second one is called The Experience Economy. And the third one is called The Support Economy. I said, now wait a minute. It can't be an attention economy, an experience economy, and a support economy, because every one of them is saying this is the answer. But then I realized that they're all right. They're just talking about different phases of the relationship. The attention economy is about getting the attention of the customer. The experience economy is about giving the customer an experience that they enjoy, the experience, I believe, of being connected with and to. And the support economy is about supporting the customer in the result that they want, delivering the result, taking them by the hand and leading them to the promised land. So as it turns out, it is the attention economy, the experience economy, and the support economy all rolled into one. Okay, quickly, we already covered that humans judge value and everything else with emotion, and just a little tiny bit with logic. We decide with emotional processes and unconscious processes, and then we justify and rationalize with logic, tell ourselves stories to convince ourselves that we made a good decision. And I believe that it's important to not only understand that humans make emotional decisions, but then, as an entrepreneur who wants to have a lot of success in the future, to go a step further, to really go down and zoom in on the detail of this process, and to realize that the way that we translate value, emotional value, into tangible value is systemic. There's a way that humans do it. And what I'd like to do is give you a couple of the steps of it, and then we'll maybe do a little exercise in a second here. One of the problems, one of the things that prevents us from this see-through or experiencing the world through the eyes and the emotions of another person is our inability to put our own stuff aside and then kind of simulate what they're doing. You know what, let's do this real quick. Stand up. Time out. I want to give you a recommendation here. Start taking deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. When you eat, if you would, try what I've been doing lately, and that's been working very well for me for about the past year and a half. It's spectacular. Try to eat about 400 or 500 calories at a meal, which is not very much food, and try to not eat a lot of processed food. Just this week, do your very best. Small meals, balanced, fat, carbs, protein, not too much processed. Small meal. You'll be a little bit hungry, but you'll be a lot more alert, and you'll feel better, and you'll learn more, and you'll get twice the value out of the program. Back to our story. So Keats, the poet, had an interesting concept. I learned this from a very brilliant man named Ned Hallowell that Joe Polish introduced me to. He wrote the book Crazy Busy. But I was talking to him about this idea of stopping your own stuff and then simulating someone else. And he said, yeah, Keats, the poet, had a concept he called the negative capability. The negative capability. You might want to write that one down. And the negative capability is to shut down your own biases, your own beliefs, your own processing long enough to run someone else's up here. And when you do that, you can start imagining what they're going through, imagining what they're feeling, having those responses, and then communicating. And when you go through that negative capability and you turn these things on and you start experiencing those emotions, you start feeling what it's like to be the other person, you can then, again, zoom in and realize that the emotional driver, the emotional motivation that the person is feeling, the result that they want, the delivery from pain and anxiety, or the delivery to pleasure and enjoyment, that emotional drive, for the most part, is motivating them, and that is a form of currency. It's a form of currency. And I have a concept that I call alternate currency. Alternate currency. And when you think in terms of what your customer wants as a result or a benefit or an outcome, and then you translate that into a currency that you can use, you can go very far. So let's say that your customer wants currency called, let's say we had a hip replacement 3 weeks ago and we're in pain. And we want delivery from that pain. Let's create a common denominator. Even though I don't like it that much, this common denominator will be money. How much money would it be worth on average for someone to be delivered from that pain? How much money on average do you think a person who's happy, we've got to take into consideration how much money they have, whatever. If you said, I can end that pain right now, how much cash can you show up with? Let's say on average, the average person said, I've got $1,000 in cash that I will give you right now for that hip pain. We're just playing here. What if I could relieve 50% of it? Would that be worth $500? I don't know. Let's just say that for every 10% of the hip pain you could remove, it would be worth $100. So now what I can do is I can say, okay, I know that the hip pain is there, and I know that my prospect will probably pay $1,000 to have it removed immediately. And you know what? I know I can't remove all of it, but I can remove most of it. And where does the line cross where me knowing that the $1,000 to get rid of all of it, and I charge 100, 200, 300, and they get rid of 70, 60, 70, 80, where do the lines cross? And now it becomes a no-brainer. And then, how can I, and this is the key step, how can I translate that currency into real-world terms? How do I describe their pain in a way that lets them know that I understand it and that it is something that I can trade them money for relief for? And you might need to be maybe even a little crass about it. And you might need to say, not being able to walk on your hip keeps you out of work. Not being able to work probably costs you $1,000 a week. Now, maybe you get $2,000 from unemployment, and maybe you get a little help from your family, but that leaves a big gap. Now, our product here, for $100, will get rid of most of your hip pain. It will get rid of enough so you can go back to work. What's it worth to get that extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month back? How much are you losing every month not getting it? How much is it stacking up to? So think of it this way. By not spending $97, you're losing $1,000 a month. You hear the different ways that I'm translating this into currency? I'm trying to create a bridge between two really different, disparate worlds. Does that make sense? Okay. It's a little confusing, and we're gonna dig more into it, and we're gonna do a couple of examples and so forth. But I want to ask you, how can you create an alternate currency with the pain and urgency or the irrational passion that your prospect is experiencing? How can you create an alternate currency that you can then talk about in real terms as if it was real? What is the currency of your customers? It's a great question to ask yourself. What is the currency of your customers? In marketing, one of the greatest discoveries I've ever had is that by showing information to people, you can make them more likely to buy from you, by giving them information. And there are a couple of types of information I've found that work extraordinarily well, especially when you're dealing with this alternate kind of emotional currency that we're discussing. One of those is education. Education is incredibly powerful when it comes to marketing. Most people do not educate their customers while they're trying to sell them stuff. This is a concept that I learned from Jay Abraham years ago. If you can teach your customers how you figured out what it is that you're going to give them, or how you developed it, you can make massive, massive progress. You can do very, very well. I remember even reading books like Claude Hopkins back from 80 years ago, Scientific Advertising, My Life in Advertising. He talks about, it's been a while since I've read this, but he went into a brewery to help them do their marketing, and he figured out that the hop that they used to clone all of the hops for the beer that gave it its distinctive taste had been cloned from this mother hop that was a line from a bazillion years ago to get the perfect beer hop. He told the whole story about it. Very interesting and compelling. He saw in there that they steam cleaned the beer bottles 7 times before they put the beer in there. He told the story about the steam cleaning of the bottles, educated the prospects, and the beer he was advertising became number 1. Well, it turned out that all the other breweries, all the other beer sellers were doing the same stuff. They steam cleaned their bottles 7 times and had the hop, but he just found that right way of communicating, of educating and telling the story that drew the prospect in. If you can involve history, if you can involve problems, discoveries. I read something once, and I don't remember where this one came from, but it was a review of someone's book, and it didn't really seem noteworthy, but it came back up in my mind many times, and it's great. If you can communicate in a way that allows the prospect to feel like they're getting smarter and they're making the discoveries, I think you can go a long way. Right? Tell them how you were figuring it out. Let them get just a little ahead of you so they go, oh, I see where this is going, yeah. So they have the excitement of discovery. We love that process. We love that feeling. We humans don't like to be told what to do. We love to figure it out for ourselves. Now, I had a fundamental shift that I talk a lot about, but I want to share it with you. When I was younger and I made very little money, I didn't make more than about 20 grand a year until mid-20s, probably 24 or 25. And I was always working and scheming in my mind to try to figure out, and even talking to my friends about this and family members, I remember there's a mindset that I call, how do I figure out how to get 1 million people to each give me $1? Because then I'll have $1 million. And you see those ads in the paper, right? How to find $1,000 in cash in your mailbox once a week. Send $10 in a self-addressed stamped envelope to this address, and then you get back a piece of paper that says, run an ad that says how to make $1,000 in your mailbox and get 100 people to send you $10 and you will have $1,000. And those kind of things seemed very appealing. And they're still very appealing to this day. Make money instantly and get rich quick is big business. But it never really worked out. And the people that I met that had made a lot of money never really seemed to have made it by running those ads. Later, after evolving into these other processes that I'm talking about and really seeing things through the eyes of the customer and trying to add value to them and moving the free line, I came up with another mindset that I call, how do I give away $100 worth of value to 1 million people and then say, would you give me $10 in return? So instead of how do I get 1 million people to give me $1, it's how do I give away $100 worth of information to 1 million people and then come back and say, hey, if you got some value from that, would you give me $10? Would you give me 10% of what it's worth? One of my favorite metaphors is the monkey trap that they use in Africa. Where they hollow out the tree, and they cut the little hole, and then they put the nut inside, and the monkeys are curious, so they come along and put their fist in there. And they try to get their fist out, and the nut in their fist is too big, so they can't get it out through the hole. And a hunter can walk right up to the monkey and kill the monkey and just throw it over his shoulder and walk away. Why? Because they won't let go of the damn nut to save their lives. And we humans have some interesting psychological mechanisms. We care way more about what the other guy's getting than what we're getting, and we hate unfair shakes, and we don't want the other person to get the better end of the deal. And you can be selling $1 million worth of your product a day, and someone starts stealing $10 worth a day, and what are you going to pay attention to? Right? The dude that's stealing the $10 a day worth, you're like, he's pissing me off, and I got to go, argh. And your business starts going down, and you're like, I don't care about that. I have to stop this injustice that's being committed against me. That's not the way to dominate a market. The way to make a lot of money in business and to dominate a market, I think, is to give away way more value than you're charging for. To just have that mindset. I'm going to give away 10 times the value that I'm going to be getting back. So don't get caught up in the monkey trap of getting more than you're giving. The ultimate marketing in most cases is allowing your prospects, your prospective customer, to actually experience your product or service. Isn't that interesting? The ultimate marketing is they actually get to try the thing out and see that it works. What can you give away as a sample or a starter to your prospects that is easy and inexpensive to distribute in mass quantities that also delivers massive value? So, here's what I'd like you to do. Ask yourself, as a starter, what are the most valuable silver bullet, magic bullet techniques you've ever discovered? What's the thing that you found that if you just try it, it works every time? You should charge $1 million for it because it's just so great. What are your magic bullet ideas? Write those down under ideas and techniques. And then, under the free offer, how could you offer a sample, consultation, or free analysis, and how could you deliver these at a low cost to masses of quality prospects? Now, what I actually recommend you do is you take these best ideas, your best ideas, and you create a free report, a free audio, a free video, something educational, and you put that up on your website. Your best technique, magic bullet idea, okay, silver bullet, works every time. It just works. It's a secret. You don't share it with anyone. You're just like, oh, I just wouldn't want to let that one out into the world. So write those down, and then how could you create a free offer where you could distribute a massive quantity of those to a huge number of prospects? We'll take about 3 or 5 minutes to do this. Okay, go. Christian.
Yes.
How you doing?
Great.
You want to play?
I sure do.
All right. Welcome, Christian, please. Christian gave us a submission, and I was hoping you'd maybe do a little work around it.
I'm super delighted to.
All right. Pull up a funky modern couch.
All right.
Now, Christian, to be fair, actually submitted several different web pages and a bunch of different content, and a lot of it's very good. Actually, most of it's very, very good. What I wanted to do is take this, which is the website for the product you said that sells the most. This is the one that's really working for you. And because I believe that it's a good idea to build on strength, start where you're strong and go stronger, let's start there.
Great.
Yeah. So will you just talk for 30 seconds about what we're looking at here and what the product is?
Sure. This is a product called Free Sessions That Sell, and it's for professional coaches and consultants, but mostly my target audience is professional coaches. And they tend to give out a lot of free sample coaching sessions that don't get clients for them. And this is how to give a free session that actually enrolls them into coaching, into ongoing coaching.
So you understand there are a lot of personal coaches that work with personal clients, helping them get their personal and business lives together. And what happens a lot of times, and I know this, any kind of personal services folks that like helping people, they wind up giving free services away to their friends and to their friends' friends. And what Christian has done is developed a product that helps you turn those free sessions into paid sessions. And it's actually a very good sales letter, and you've done a really good job here. Now, what I noticed also, though, is that it's a higher evolution of marketing than most companies have gone to, where he's really getting inside the customer's shoes. So listen to this. Now you can actually get clients from all those free sessions you give away consistently and reliably. If you've given away 20 or more free sample coaching sessions, but you haven't enrolled more than 2 or 3 clients from it, maybe you're going about it the wrong way. Dear coach, if you're like me, you've given free coaching sessions to lots of people, and you've probably helped a lot of people with your free sessions. But if you're like most coaches, you're working your butt off trying to have such a powerful coaching session, hoping that the potential client will see what a great coach you are and decide to hire you. In fact, do you sometimes have such a great session that you actually solve whatever challenge they brought up during their free session, and their reason to hire you is gone? Or do you have a regular, solid coaching session, but they just don't see the long-term impact that ongoing coaching would create? Well, guess what? Either way, you spend 30 minutes or an hour of your time, or dare I say, 2 hours, but you walk away with remarks like, I'll think about it. Do you rarely end up getting any clients from all your efforts? But you think, maybe it's not so bad because at first you figure, I'm getting coaching practice, and I'll keep at it. And that's where we cut this one off, because I could keep reading because this is good copy. It's a high evolution that he's gone to, right? He really has gotten inside. He's narrowed down to that specific thing. I'm giving away free sessions and I'm not converting. So how could we take this even to the next level is the question that I would like to ask. And using this technique and coming back to it, let me ask you this. What technique could you reveal to a coach who gives away free sessions that is 10 words or less that would dramatically increase their closing and conversion ratio? 10-word technique.
Find out what they want, find out what their challenges are, and show them how you can help them get what they want and overcome their challenges.
It's going to be a lot of work, I can tell already. Is there something more specific? Is there like some cute little technique or closer? I'll give you an example. Something I learned from Bill Brooks, that sales trainer I mentioned earlier. He taught an amazing phrase. The phrase is, based on what you told me, the next step is. Why is that an amazing phrase? Because after you do a consultation with someone, and then you say, based on what you told me, now there's connecting to what they're thinking. The next step is, there is a next step when you're in your situation. And people just go, whoosh, and they go right along with it. Well, based on what you told me, the next step is for you to sign up for my $4 million coaching program. It's perfect. Based on what you told me, the next step is. Do you have something like that that's a cool...
I have a lot of those in this